Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. We're gauging reaction to the Chancellor's autumn statement, including the increase in the minimum wage. It's been given a cautious welcome by these mums in Keighley.
It's a good idea, but I feel that maybe other things are going to go more expensive as well, like gas, electric or food. If they go high as well, we're back there again.
But we'll also hear why businesses aren't keen. And we'll be live in Westminster with all of the reaction. Also on the programme tonight. Flooded 3 times in 8 years, we get a tour of this school in the Calder Valley to see how they're protecting themselves for the future. Meet Bailey, an Irish doodle, one of a growing number of animals looking for a new home in Yorkshire as a result of the cost of living crisis.
Well, it's nowhere as big as people wanted it to be, and it's a little bit wonky at the top. We'll find out what's been disappointing hundreds of people here in Hebden Bridge.
Well, it's been a fairly cloudy day today, the same tomorrow, but something much colder and sunnier by the end of the week. Join me for the very latest.
Hello, good evening. You may have read the headlines. The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, delivers his autumn statement in the House of Commons. Tonight we'll be exploring who the big winners and the losers are in our region. Now, the statement sets out the government's tax and spending plans for the year ahead, affecting the take-home pay and the household budgets of millions of people. We'll report from Keighley constituency tonight and we'll also be live in Westminster. But first, let's take a look at some of the key announcements that might affect you at home. Let's start with national insurance. That will be cut from 12% to 10% from the 6th of January. The national living wage will rise from £10.42 to £11.44 from April. That's per hour. And that will also include 21 and 22-year-olds. The state pension will increase by 8.5%, and universal credit and disability benefits will also rise by 6.7%, but benefits will stop for those refusing to seek work. All alcohol duty will be frozen until August next year, but the duty rate on tobacco products will increase by 2%. The Chancellor also reconfirmed a commitment to build new homes across Leeds. Let's cross first to Westminster to our political editor, James Vincent. James, tell us, how has this statement gone down today?
Yeah, Amy, the autumn statement's one of those funny weeks where you know the speech is going to happen on the Wednesday, but the weekend before, the few days before, we get a load of stuff leaked out, some things announced, an investment zone for West Yorkshire here, some money for a rail line between Huddersfield and Sheffield there. Those quite key announcements coming before the Chancellor gets on his speech. But today was when he got on his feet and gave his speech. And that sets off everybody trying to work out finally whether they'll benefit, whether their business will benefit, what will happen for their mum and dad or for their kids. And we've been trying to find out too. So we sent Spencer Stokes out and he started at the lower end of that age spectrum.
Making the sums add up at the Sangat Centre in Keighley. For low-paid working mums in a cost of living crisis, today's autumn statement provides a small financial boost. Anissa has 4 children and works 16 hours a week. She'll now see her minimum wage salary climb by £1 an hour to £11.44 from next April.
I think it's a good idea, but I feel that maybe other things are going to go more expensive as well, so we need that balance. So if the wage is going up, the other stuff goes up with the gas, electric or food. If they go high as well, we're back there again. It helps, paying for the kids' school dinners and anything extra they want, sometimes, if they're being good. It will pay for his karate probably at least. So, yeah.
Karate lessons?
Yeah. So it will pay.
Wage increases are good for those at the receiving end, but where will the cash come from? This Howarth firm makes springs and say that out of all of the Chancellor's announcements, the minimum wage one is the most significant, because all employees will want a rise.
We can't pay everybody the same, so if there's an increase to be had at the lower levels of the skill range, we need to deal with the higher skill levels. That could cost us, we estimate, about £60,000 next year.
So it's not just a pay rise for those at the bottom of the ladder?
No, it's a pay rise for everyone. There are elements of reduction of national insurance, but that is a very small benefit to us compared to what we're going to have to pay in increased costs.
Keighley is in the bottom quarter for the most deprived places in the country. Wages are lower here. The benefits bill has grown since 2019. This week, the town received £20 million of levelling up funding, but money worries dominate.
We're cutting down on heating. We're having it on kind of an hour in the morning just to warm things up and an hour in an evening, and that's it. Whereas we used to have it on all morning and then again all evening. But when we turn it off, we put the blanket over us.
That's a big cutback then.
Yeah. The bill don't seem much less.
Everyone wishes for more, don't they? It's one of those, but the cost of living at the minute is putting everyone out of pocket.
We manage, we just have a few less treats. We are not in as bad a position as some people are, I think.
They haven't done anything for the working man in the street. If this is a token offer before the elections are due, well, they're electioneering, aren't they, apart from anything else?
That election is expected next year. How the autumn statement goes down in a place like Keighley could have a pivotal effect on the outcome. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North.
Well, that's what they thought in Keighley. And James, Leeds got a mention today, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. A bit of behind the scenes for you, Amy. As the Chancellor is giving his speech, the actual big document comes out, and that means people like me end up control Fing, trying to find lots of references to Yorkshire, to Sheffield, to Leeds, to find out exactly what is in the autumn statement. Leeds was actually mentioned in the speech. A new housing quarter is going to be created. They want to try and create 20,000 new homes in Leeds, some of that on some of the land that was earmarked for HS2. The problem with that announcement coming today in the autumn statement is that it was actually announced in July by Michael Gove. So we got Tracy Brabin's response to that.
That's a pot of money to help densification of housing in Leeds, and that was announced. It was an old announcement, actually. It's been announced already by Michael Gove. So this is the problem, that it all feels a bit stale. It doesn't feel like there's a vision. It doesn't feel like there's a strategic plan for growth, genuine growth that's going to impact on people's lives, so they can look at their kids and say, you will have a better life than me, because at the moment, from that budget, that is definitely not going to happen.
Well, Tracy Brabin wasn't convinced there. And earlier this week, you already mentioned it actually, James, we heard little nuggets of information of what's happening in West and South Yorkshire, didn't we?
Yeah, so we already had the Chancellor talking to us as part of this autumn statement at the back end of last week, telling us about the new investment zone in West Yorkshire that will cover Leeds, Bradford and Huddersfield. That's hoping to bring in £200 million of investment. The Levelling Up Fund, round 3 of that was announced earlier this week as well, and it meant that places like Sheffield got £20 million for Parkwood Springs. It meant that the rail line between Huddersfield and Sheffield will be improved. They say there might be 2 trains an hour on that line after the money is spent. And Keighley, as Spencer mentioned, got some money in the Levelling Up Fund as well. And just building on what Spencer said in his report there, that increase in the minimum wage is key for workers, but how will businesses pay for that extra expenditure on their staff? That's something that I asked the Dewsbury MP, Mark Eastwood, today after the speech.
£11.44 it's increased, but we've had the biggest tax cut for business announced today. So yes, they may have to pay a little bit more, or a lot more actually, for their workers, but actually, it's 18 billion. It's the biggest tax cut for businesses in modern history. They're going to benefit in so many ways.
So 2 questions remain. Will this be enough to get Conservatives re-elected, and how does it affect you? I do recommend the BBC website. There's a great tool on there where you can work out exactly how today's autumn statement affects your budget.
Yeah, that is a good tool, James. Thank you. So, as James mentioned there, what we really want to know is what the announcement means for our bank accounts. Jasmine Birtles is a financial journalist and a founder of moneymagpie.com. She told me who the winners and the losers are.
There's good news for pensioners. Those on the state pension will get an uplift of 8.5% as of April next year. That was under question for a while, but it's a good rise. And also those on benefits will have an increase of 6.7%. Plus those who are renting and struggling with their rents are likely to get some help there. Could be around £800 a year, which is, hey, a big help.
And what about working people? Talk us through the drop in national insurance and what that means to pay packets.
Well, as you know, national insurance is really a tax by another name. Now, people like me were hoping that the personal allowance, that's the threshold at which you start paying income tax, would be raised so that we don't have to pay so much income tax. Jeremy Hunt didn't touch that, so income tax is the same, but national insurance has been cut as of January to 10%. If you're on sort of national average wage, which is about 34,000, that should mean that you've got about another £450 in your pay packet over the year.
Just picking up on what you said about the freeze on the tax brackets, the Institute for Fiscal Studies said that bearing all that in mind, there's not really going to be a massive change for people.
Currently, once you're being paid £12,570, from that point upwards, you have to pay tax on your income. And of course, wages have gone up, not all of them, but many have gone up to keep up with inflation. So that means that more and more people are being caught in the tax net and they're paying more. So we are all going to be paying more tax next year, just not quite as much tax as we would have been without this cut in national insurance.
And just very briefly, we heard from a business who's concerned about the rise in the minimum wage, but this is good for the lower earners, isn't it?
It is, yes. So the minimum wage, the hourly rate is going up by about £1 an hour. So if you're doing 40 hours a week, that's an extra £40 every week that you're getting. And what's been happening over the last few decades is that businesses have paid lower amounts in that level, and then the government, in other words the taxpayer, has had to come in and support those workers who are on very low wages. And that's a silly way to do it. It needs to be business. Now, as you say, this is not good news always for all businesses. It does mean that some jobs probably won't exist. But at least it's a fairer way of compensating people who are doing the jobs.
Jasmine Birtles, thank you. OK, we're going to move away from the budget now and on to flooding. How do you protect a Calder Valley school sandwiched between a canal and a river that's flooded 3 times in 8 years, with repairs costing more than £1 million? Olivia Richwold has been finding out.
The Boxing Day floods of 2015. 300 properties and 70 businesses in Mytholmroyd were inundated, including Burnley Road Academy. The damage and the clean-up in the school alone cost about £1 million.
We were out of the building for 9 months. So it happened on Boxing Day 2015 and we weren't back in till September 2016.
Pupils' education and their mental health suffered.
They'd witnessed what had happened. Many of them lived nearby. They'd seen, as they walked past school, skips full of PE kits, violins, exercise books, furniture, even teddy bears.
The school faces a triple flooding threat. It has a river to the front and a canal to the rear, and in extreme rain, surface water would overwhelm the drains and pour sewage into the school. It flooded in 2012, 2015 and again in 2020. Now a catalogue of flood alleviation measures have been put in place.
So this is a flood door. One of how many?
One of 8 around the school.
You've got 8 flood doors around the school, and show me where the water came up to.
Mark from the company Watertight worked with the Environment Agency and the Department of Education to design the plan. It cost more than £400,000 and includes 6 floodgates, 8 flood barriers, non-return valves, a network of 35 pumps and these rather attractive rain gardens.
So the suds that we've installed allows us to take water from the roof into the suds planter from here. This suds planter will hold 330 litres of water in the bottom section of the tank.
And how many of these are there around the school?
There's 10 around the school. So we take about 3,300 litres of water out of the system.
It's hoped all of these measures, along with the £41 million flood alleviation scheme in Mytholmroyd, should protect the school in the future.
I think it's really good because with the large gates they'll be closed when it's very high the river.
I feel a lot safer because a lower chance that the school will flood again.
It was raining quite heavily 2 weeks ago and we were all scared, but now that these new defences have been put in, I feel like we won't be as scared.
Knowing that we are now so much safer, the level of anxiety has really, really dropped.
In the future, it should take less than 2 hours to make the school flood-proof. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, Mytholmroyd.
Let's bring you up to date with what else is happening in our region now. A man has appeared in court charged with murdering his partner in Dewsbury. Officers were called on Sunday after 27-year-old Salam Ashara was found hurt at a house in Ravensthorpe. She later died of her injuries. 35-year-old Wahib Al-Baradan indicated he would deny murder. Police say the couple have 4 children. A man who was killed when a car crashed into a bus stop in Leeds has been named by police. Terence Russell, who was 62, died when a black Mitsubishi Shogun hit the shelter of Stanningley Road on Monday afternoon. 2 other pedestrians were also left with minor injuries. The driver, a 57-year-old man, was arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving and has been released on bail. He was also arrested on suspicion of driving while unfit through drugs, but has been released without charge. Some football news tonight, which will surprise and probably disappoint any Barnsley fans who were enjoying their cup run. Barnsley have today been expelled from this season's FA Cup for selecting an ineligible player in their first round replay at Horsham. Barnsley have not named the player in question but have admitted the error and apologised to their fans as well as to Horsham. The non-league team from Sussex now go through to round 2 and will face Sutton a week on Saturday. Next tonight, aren't these gorgeous little pooches and a lovely little cat there? But a leading animal charity has warned that the number of pets being abandoned is rising. The RSPCA says cases across the whole country could top 21,000 by the end of the year due to the cost of living. In Doncaster, staff say as soon as a space in their rejoining centre opens, it's immediately filled by another animal. Tom Ingle has been to take a look.
Full of energy, but what sort of life will she lead?
So this is Bailey. She's 7 months old. She is an Irish Doodle, which is an Irish setter crossed with a poodle. She came from a house where the owners got a little bit inundated with other dogs, and they decided to sign her over because they just couldn't afford to keep that many dogs on.
At the RSPCA Centre in Doncaster, there are many more stories like Bailey's, or worse, where the animals have been deliberately abandoned by owners. The problem is apparently getting worse.
Since the early part of this year, it's just been growing and growing. So as soon as we've got a space, it is filled. We've seen dogs, cats just left by the roadside. Certainly the cost of living this year has been a major factor. We're still seeing some of the output from the fallout from the COVID when people adopted dogs and they've taken a while to realise now they're back at work, they now can't cope with them.
The charities say in total, in 2020, there were 16,118 reports of abandoned animals. This year, so far, that number is almost 18,000. Not far from the centre is Helen, helping the charity with its workload. She fosters pets until they're ready to be rehomed, like Autumn, abandoned at the side of a road.
She was very timid, very scared, didn't trust us, hid under everything possible. We've had to just sit with her and just prove to her that we're not going to hurt her, really, and just give her love. I don't like to think where the majority of the animals would end up if any of us didn't do this, because I think it's terribly sad. People get fed up with them, and unfortunately it's just what happens. So yeah, we try to do all we can.
Dealing with animals of all shapes and sizes, the RSPCA say even if costs rise, there are still ways of keeping your animal at home.
All charities will look to help, and if they can keep an animal in a home, they will do so. So I think look at options rather than just leap to I need to give the animal up. Look at what help is available, and hopefully we can ride out this particular economic crisis and things can start to look better.
For now, dogs, cats and any other animal like Bailey waits for their new life to begin. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Doncaster.
I'm sure it won't be long for Bailey. Super cute. We're talking about Christmas now. There's a chance to see Harlow Car Gardens in Harrogate in a whole new light this evening as the much-loved winter illuminations return. This year, the Twinkling Trail takes on a new route over bridges alongside a stream. Hundreds of people are expected there tonight for the opening night, and Nicola Rees is there for us as well. Enjoy, Nicola.
Hello, Amy. Yeah, I think if you've ever visited these gardens, you'll know all the iconic features like the boathouse, the lake, the huge sprawling lawns. Well, they've all been transformed through the magic of light. This, for example, this evening is the Field of Fire. And all around the garden, dotted around, you'll find these frames. They are selfie frames, so you can take a picture against this lovely landscape. And hundreds of people have been coming already this evening. In fact, they've had 1,000 through the doors already. Let's find out what some of them have been thinking and saying.
It's just somewhere that's really, really tranquil to escape in these turbulent times, really. I think a bit of magic, especially around Christmas, is just what we all need.
It's just nice to get out of the sort of rush of life, really, and come to a bit of serenity.
Well, I think it's absolutely magical. I think it's wonderful to have a resource like this in the centre of Harrogate, really. And coming with my granddaughter, you know, she's just full of wonder. And I think really we need a bit more wonder and magic in our lives, don't you?
Well, the whole trail has been planned as a walking route, and the man behind it is Paul Cook. He's the curator here at the Gardens. Paul, a lot of work has gone into this. Tell us about some of your favourite spots.
Well, hopefully worth it. We've transformed the iconic features of the garden and all the living sculptures, so you can enjoy it by day and by night.
You won't get sort of Santa, reindeer, jingle bells. It's not that kind of festive display, is it? It's more, well, I suppose you're letting nature do the work, aren't you?
We are. It's this quiet time of year when you could be tucked up at home, but why not come for a nice brisk walk, see the garden lit up and really see the garden in a different light.
So tell us about, for example, you know, we've got these huge trees, really majestic, and each one has been lit really uniquely.
It highlights what are, you know, some quite mature plants have been here for years, and you can get lost in the backdrop, but they've been really picked out with these wonderful, the lights are improved every year, so they really bring the trees to life.
I know this is a ticketed event, so you do have to pay to get in. It's quite a big fundraiser for you. Tell us where the money goes.
We're a charity, so all the money goes back to our core purpose, which is education and really inspiring people to go out in the gardens and enjoy what we do every day.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time. I know it's running all the way until December, so enjoy it. You can come along, have a look. We've only had a few minutes to show you around here. It really is brisk and windy. There's much more to see, and of course the frames. One for the gram, Amy.
Always after one for the gram.
That's what the kids say, isn't it?
In fact, apparently that's what the kids say, Nicola. Thank you. Down with the kids. I take my kids there every year, actually. It is a lovely thing to do with them on an evening. Right, let's keep with Christmas, shall we? I can't get enough of it. Have your tree up yet? Well, one town in West Yorkshire has put theirs up, but it has been met with, well, a chorus of disapproval from locals, shall we say. Hebden Bridge usually has a fine, lush, bushy specimen that stands really proud in St George's Square, but it seems for 2023 it's slightly different. Our Christmas correspondent Ollie Constable has more.
Well, Christmas is a very exciting time for many people. The lights are out, the mulled wine is on, and last year the Christmas tree here in Hebden Bridge took up most of the square. This year, though, you'll be disappointed. It looks nowhere near as good, according to hundreds of people on one of the Hebden Bridge Facebook pages. Well, we've been asking people here what they make to it. Tell me about what it looked like last year.
Oh, it was huge.
It was huge?
Huge. It was rather large, but it had a very dramatic effect. The plus sides are that people can get past, whereas last year it was a little bit overhung, but it's not as impactful.
You've got a beautiful tree there in your hand, that nice picture. What do you make to this?
This is better than that one.
Do you think so?
Yes. Not right good.
No?
No.
Does this one?
Like little polystyrene lights, isn't it?
Bit of a shock when I got here yesterday morning. They were putting it up after last year's. Everybody every year say, God, how big's the tree? So I came yesterday morning, he stood there putting it up. I went over, I said, is this it? And he was like really embarrassed. He says, yeah, that's why I'm here at 8 o'clock in the morning doing it, so I don't get any stick.
I think it's split the community a bit, actually. We've had a few people in saying they actually prefer it, but I think, yeah, it's just not quite the spectacle that it normally is.
It's what you make of Christmas. Yeah, as long as you don't downsize the turkeys, that's the main thing.
It's a little bit smaller than last year, just by a little bit.
Do you think the council should be sprucing that tree up a little bit?
I think they should, yeah. The width is quite nice, but the height, yeah, could definitely do with a bigger tree.
What do you think to this one?
It's a bit dismal, isn't it?
Dismal?
A bit boring. Well, it don't represent Hebden, does it? Because Hebden's vibrant and colourful and lots of different characters, and that's just blah.
Well, a frosty reception then compared to last year's mammoth centrepiece here back. But one thing's for sure, it's a tree residents here won't forget.
Certainly the talk of the town, and the council has sent us a statement on this afternoon. They said it was their engineer's professional judgment that the tree should be around 20 feet tall and standardised across the borough. They said by standardising the height we order from our supplier, we can ensure there's some consistency in size of trees. What do you make of that, Paul?
That's a technocrat statement if I've ever heard one.
Well, I was quite interested in the polystyrene balls that someone said was on there.
Well, enough said about that, the better. But I mean, yours is bigger.
I haven't got it up yet.
Oh, have you not?
Have you?
No, I put it up a few years back at the end of November. It was dead by Christmas Eve.
Well,
so
of course it was.
That's a waste of time, isn't it? Anyway, this is more interesting. This is Alticumulus stratiformis. It was a fantastic display right across Western North Yorkshire. That's Farnley Tyres there yesterday evening, and we've also got one from Harome in North Yorkshire, a lovely sight. If you've got any pictures you want to get on the telly, you can send them to me on X, Instagram, and on the Weather Watcher website. So big changes coming weather-wise. In the next 24 hours, it's very mild. There'll be some drizzle over the Pennines, patchy rain later, but a big change Friday into the weekend, much brighter, lots of sunshine. It will feel cold with widespread frost at night, and it may well be that we see some coastal showers driven down by that fresh to strong north or northwesterly wind. And then a little weather front might threaten a bit of patchy rain late Sunday into early next week. Now, you can't really pick out the drizzle that's affected the tops of the Pennines all day, and that's going to continue through this evening and overnight. Cloud, mist and drizzle. Further east, it looks like to be dry with clear spells. Very mild for late November. Some spots staying in double figures with lows around 10 Celsius. That's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So tomorrow's high water times in Filey at just after midnight. Bridlington at 25 past midnight. So tomorrow looks a pretty cloudy day, drizzle on and off all day long across the Pennines to the east of high ground. It should be dry and a little bit brighter. There's that cold front rain into North Yorkshire and West Yorkshire by mid to late afternoon. That will sink across South Yorkshire into tomorrow evening, but certainly despite the wind, and it will be a windy afternoon, it's going to be very mild. 14 in York and Doncaster. That is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Looking a bit further ahead then, all change on Friday and the weekend. In fact, for many, it's going to be a big change for the better. Lots of blue sky, lots of sunshine, much colder, widespread frost at night, but the hint of something cloudier and more unsettled as we head into next week. And Amy, that's the forecast.
Have you started your Christmas shopping yet?
I most certainly have not.
No, neither have I. But apparently Keely has put her Christmas tree up.
Well, she's nuts.
Seems a bit early to me, but she'll be here on the late news tonight. She can tell you all about it. That's it from us. Bye-bye.